Hi, this is Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart, and today is Monday, November 11th, 2019. What I'd like to do in this video is something a little bit different. Instead of doing coverage of the markets or trade ideas, I wanted to do a video and just share my thoughts on how best to use the site, how to find what you're looking for, how to make heads or tails of the trade ideas, which ones are actionable, where to enter, where not to, because I know I throw a lot out there, and what this site is. There was no when I started this site, years back, and started 2011, started working on it and launched it on January 1st of 2012. There was no template. What it was is, I'm a trader, a full-time trader, and I have been doing that for nearly 13 years now. That's what I do for a living. And the site started out as a hobby at first, and it's a trading journal. It benefits me, in fact, to put my thoughts out and charts, put them into words. It actually helps my trading, and a lot of the trade ideas and other tips and things I've gotten over the years have come from a lot of members and feedback from the site. Now, so what I'm going to do today is just go through real quickly, how to best A, find what you're looking for on the site, and then B, make heads or tails of it, and see if it meshes with your trading style, trade idea that you might like. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go over a couple questions here from members. So we had one that came in, new subscriber, trying to find out what trades are actionable at any given moment. As many categories under trade setups. For example, I talked about 37 specialty and generic drug stocks as unofficial long trade ideas, but only 2 of those were listed as active trade ideas. Could you clarify? Great question. I want to get to that in this video, and I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. You guys know it's not going to be a 5-minute video. And then I'll try to get to this answer as well. Is there any place on the site that shows current or active portfolios, such as charts included, entry dates, targets, all that? I'm trying to loop back to this question right here, and if I don't have time before the video's over, if I go off on a sidetrack, then you want to go to right here, trade ideas, completed trades. If you click on this category, now there's subcategories as well. So when you go to trade ideas, if you click on completed trades, that loads all categories, and they're subdivided by long, meaning long swing trades, short swing trades, or long-term trades, or growth and income trades. I probably should just start there. What is that? What are those differences? You can see here, here's all your trade categories. Swing trade setups, long and short setups. What is a swing trade? Well, let's click on it and find out. If you click on any of the trade categories right here towards the top, this is a tag cloud. These are all clickable links. Now, I'm going to say this as I'm doing this video. These trade ideas are in desperate needs of updating. I've been focusing on finding new trade ideas, trading, answering questions from members, trying to keep up in the trading room, private messages. I'm way behind. Don't use the contact form right now. But what I want to say is, when you click on any of the trade ideas here, it'll bring up the most recent posts on those trade ideas. And before I do that, show you, let me just highlight here. This will give you a description of each category, what a trade setup is. Now, I'll read it out. Trade setups are potential swing trades or longer-term investment candidates that are setting up in a well-defined chart pattern. Once and if that pattern triggers, in other words, a breakout or a breakdown of a bearish pattern, the trade idea will become an active trade until one of 2 things happen. Either the price target or final target's hit, or the trade is stopped out. Sometimes you'll see trades in multiple categories. In other words, if a trade setup triggers an entry, it's an active trade, but it may still provide an objective entry, so I'll leave it in the trade setup category. So when we go back to trade ideas, okay, so we have again trade setups. You can break that down by long setups, and again it tells you that these are swing trade ideas. They're always stocks or ETFs for the official proxies. You guys know I post a lot of charts on futures. I like to trade futures, but I understand that both for capital requirements, and they're a little more complex. Not all traders do that, so I'll use an ETF or an ETN. Even if it's something natural gas, I'll pick an ETF or an ETN, so everyone can access that, those that don't have a futures account. So there it is. So there's your categories, and again going back to this, so I have long or these are setups. And then if a trade is triggers an entry, I try to do predetermined entry prices. In other words, I'll try to post a trade setup. Let's see. Okay, we had right here a core swing trade idea, and it was posted. No, I actually added it right away there because I felt like a breakout would be imminent, and it did happen. But what I will often do is if there's a well-defined level, let's just say 242, the stock was below 242, then I would list this ahead of time as a setup only with an entry to be triggered on a break above 242. So that stock has to move to 243 or higher to trigger an entry or break out above a downtrend line, whatever it is. And in some cases, if I come across a stock, this one had just reported earnings and looked like a breakout was likely and imminent, and it was starting to crack above the trend line. So in some cases, I'll go ahead and add it as an active swing trade at that point in time. It's still a setup, still offers plenty of room, it would still offer an objective entry. But what you want to do is if this trade, if and when it gets up here, let's say it's at let's just say it gets to 350, then although I may not have gone in and updated the trade and removed the trade setup category from it, it's not actionable at that point, or it's not objective to add to. You're in no man's land, you're almost to that first target, and at that point you would probably at best want to wait for a pullback. So that's again, I just wanted to kind of go over what these trade ideas are. Long-term trades, again, click on the category and it tells you right here. These are trade or investment ideas that have the potential for significant returns over a longer time period, typically several months or more. So your swing trading ideas are usually trade ideas. On average, I'd say it's about 2 to 4 weeks. Again, roughly holding periods. Sometimes, as you guys have seen, a lot of these explosive patterns will hit the price target, the first or even the final price target, within a day, even sometimes the same day. That's not completely unusual, but it's not the norm. Again, swing trades are typically measured in days to weeks, sometimes a few months, whereas long-term trades, you can also call that a trend trade, and you can see again it's for longer-term swing or trend or investors looking for investment ideas. And then within there I also have a subcategory. It's really also in that long-term trade category, but these are called growth and income trades, like Camping World, for example, which pays, if I recall, about a 3% or so dividend yield. And so that one I added to the growth and income trade category. Now it's also a swing trade because you can, a lot of times I'll categorize multiple categories. You can swing it up here. Swing trader will take it, and then we might not care about the above average dividend yield. So again, that'll be in both categories. And then finally, this is an important thing to make mention too. When you come into these categories, for example, growth and income trades, let's say we go look at the active trades right now. In that category, you're going to see two. But Camping World's the only one that's active at this point in time. KHC, again, this is just me. I don't do a perfect job of updating these trade ideas, although I'm going to say this right now, and I've said it many times before. If you come into a trade idea, click on KHC. That's a clickable link. All these symbols up in the tag. It will then load all posts related to that trade from the first one. They're in reverse chronological order. Starting with the most recent down to the oldest. So this would be, if you go one at a time, you'll see the trade idea. Let's see, I make a case for it fundamentally, technically, and then I give the entry criteria. You will almost always find the trade parameters in the first post of an official trade idea. By the way, if it's under this category, any of these right here, swing trade setups, active swing trades, long-term trades, growth and income, these are all official trade ideas. An official trade idea will always list the differences between an official and unofficial. It will always list specific trade parameters. Trade parameters are what entry price, exactly where are we going to buy it, what does it need to do, break out of a bullish falling wedge pattern or above a certain resistance level, that would be our entry. then it will list specific price targets in advance. Sometimes it's one target, sometimes multiple targets. If you visit the FAQ page under the resources here, it takes you to the right side of the chart, support center. There's an FAQ page section. It'll tell you why it lists multiple targets and how those targets are determined. Okay, back to that. The other trade parameters besides price targets, suggested stop. If I don't list multiple stops and there's multiple price targets, I'm giving you the maximum stop. That would be if you were targeting the highest or the maximum price target. That would be, in this case, well, this had one target, one stop right here. You can see that one. And then finally, I'll also add a suggested beta adjusted position size, and that is, again, I believe I answer that in the FAQ page. A lot of, if it is experience, knowing a stock's history, knowing how volatile, knowing the potential risk and the potential reward on that stock, there's a lot that goes into that. So typically, your more aggressive stocks with higher price targets and larger stop allotments to make up for that, those will have a downward adjusted position size. Okay, so there it is. These are your official trade categories. Now, I want to add to this. Usually, although not always, typically these are the trades that I have the highest degree of confidence in. But that's not always the case. Sometimes I will go and list unofficial trade ideas that I really like, and that again is going to lead us to that question that we just looked at on the recent the 37 or so trade ideas that I shared in the generic and specialty drug manufacturing sector. We're going to get to that in a second, because those were, the majority of those were listed, or at least initially they were all listed as unofficial trade ideas, and for the reasons I stated in that video, which were the fact that there were too many to cover. I liked them all, and then to that, I'll get to that in a second, some of those trades were actionable at the time, meaning I clearly stated this one you can buy here, it's broken out, it looks good now, and the others I said they're not actionable. For example, some of those had to break out above a downtrend line or price resistance levels, and then others I said would be objective if they pulled back to this level. And so again, the reason that I listed so many in there is that they all looked good. The sector looked very good at the time. There's two reasons I'll do a video covering a sector. One is to make a case if I'm bullish or bearish a sector, like the recently, a couple weeks back, 2-3 weeks back, the generic and specialty drug stocks. If I go through a sector, here, let's take a look at some of those trades here. Okay, if you visit that my response right here, again, it's from Friday's post, gold and treasury bond analysis. Gold, I think stock market, gold and treasury bond analysis. And my reply to that about those 37 stocks is, as I just said, in the video I made mention, and I did follow-up videos saying that I'm doing the video for two reasons. If I come across a sector that stands out as bullish or bearish, I'll go through all the components, or at least a lot of those that stand out, to confirm my outlook for the sector and the trade ideas I'm going to put. Now, what I mean by that, quite often I might look at a chart. Let's say I've been eyeing the home builders lately. We'll use that as an example. And if I'm looking at the chart and it stands out to me, XHB or ITB are two home builder ETFs, and they might have something that's compelling on the charts, maybe bullish bearish setup, actionable at the time, and then I'll drill down and look at the components. Sometimes I'll go through the components of a sector, like let's say GDX with the gold mining stocks as well, and the vast majority confirm what I see with the sector ETF. They're either, the vast majority are clearly bullish or clearly bearish. That gives me higher confidence to make individual, either a trade on the sector ETF if there is one, or long or short trades on the individual stocks. So that's the one reason I do those videos. The other is obviously to share trade ideas. When I go through the video, if there's few enough components, 20, no more than 30, I'll cover all the components in a sector. Otherwise, in the generic in specialty stocks, there were well over 37. I just took the top 3 dozen that stood out to me as the most compelling, and therefore that second reason I do the video is to share individual trade ideas. And in that example, and I said in the video, in the notes above that video here, let's take a look at that. that there wasn't an ETF that specifically tracked this sector, specialty and generic drug stocks. You can go into a healthcare ETF, even a pharmaceutical company ETF that's big pharma, but these are not big pharma. These aren't Merck, Pfizer, and those big companies. So what I did on the link here, you can see again, you visit those videos. This was the first one right here, back on October 15th. And again, I gave the notes right there, and I mentioned that there's not an ETF, and that's why I was going through this. And I also mentioned in the video a couple things as well as the notes. I like to take a shotgun approach because I don't know which ones are going to be the winners. If you have an ETF, you're diversified. It's just like a mutual fund. You're owning a dozen, 2 dozen, sometimes 100 or more stocks within an ETF. So you don't have to worry about earnings or one stock blowing up on you. However, if you're going to go through, and there's 36 that I highlight, not all of them were actionable trades at the time. As I said in the video, I highlighted which ones were, and if they weren't actionable at that time, I highlighted or did my best on each one to say, well, this one would be a buy if it broke out above this downtrend line or this price level, or if it pulled back to a certain level. So therefore, just like the official trade ideas that I showed you earlier in the video, in this video I highlighted both what I refer to as trade setups, a stock that needs to either give me an objective reason to buy it. It needs to neither break out, or if it already broke out and started to run and it's a little too far to chase, then it needs to pull back to a support level in order to offer an objective entry. And of course the other ones were actionable at that time. Coal is a perfect example of that. That was one of the stocks highlighted in that video. This was the screenshot from that video, and at that point I said you can take it either the objective buy signal would be, or objective entry, either a break above this trend line or a pull back to the bottom of the triangle pattern. That's what I highlighted, and then it went on to break out, so that was your objective entry. You would have had set a price alert on that downtrend line. On most chart programs, TC2000, you just right click the trend line and say set alert, and as soon as it crosses the trend line you get an alert. And I highlighted that was the day it broke out. I posted that update. Then I followed up in the video screenshot on November 4th in the video. I said we just hit our first target, and I still reiterated and highlighted that as the final target there, 1883, and then boom, we hit it. So there's an example of a stock that was posted as a trade setup. At the time I made it pretty clear that it wasn't an actionable buy. It needed to break out or come back and give us a better lower buy point, but still an objective buy at the bottom of the triangle pattern with a stop somewhat below. And so that's an example of a trade setup that went on to become an actionable trade. And although it wasn't an official trade, I had no less confidence at the time it was in a triangle, so I couldn't tell you at the time I have to say it wasn't one of my favorites because it hadn't broken out. One of my favorites, quite a few I mentioned in there. There was what was it, that one in the head and shoulders pattern. That one looked really good even though it hadn't triggered yet. But again, I don't want to get off track. I want to just, the point of this video is as you're going through these, I throw out a lot of stuff. I'm constantly buried in charts all day. Almost every day of the week I'm looking at charts, hundreds if not thousands of charts a week, and I try to get out to you guys what I like. I know sometimes it's like I'm all over the place. One minute I'm talking about palladium, the next minute I'm talking about pot stocks, then I'm trading cotton or you name it, and that's what I do. I like to look at where the opportunities are because they're not always in the stock market. In fact, that's usually the smallest opportunities. If you can sniff out the best looking individual stocks, sectors, and commodities, the return potential is usually many times what you're going to get in the stock market, and especially the S&P 500, which is just a dilution of 500 relatively slow growing stocks. Those are your mega cap, large cap stocks. Small caps, things like commodities, natural gas have much higher gain potential, also loss potential, so you got to use stops. Okay, going back to the trade ideas now, and the fact that you'll see, as I said, if I, one thing I just don't prioritize, and maybe I should put a higher emphasis. Again, first and foremost, I need to make money. I need to find the newest trade idea. I need to move on from the next one. That's the market. It's constantly changing. And so my primary goal is to look for trade ideas, get them out to you, do videos, communicate my thoughts on the market. This stuff is not black and white. So therefore, when you come into a trade category, again, on official trades, these are the front page posts. Any trades here, again, in these columns here are official. These are your unofficial trades. I've said this often. For every one official trade idea I share on the site, there's easily 20 or more unofficial trades. They're posted in either the trading room and or on the front page in these videos, such as the generic stocks. We did shipping stocks before that, cannabis stocks, and then of course just random. Sometimes it's not just sector coverage. I'll just find a stock such as Camping World, had nothing to do with any of the others, although I did highlight some others in that sector recently. Now what I wanted to get to here is, so you click on a category, you'll see Camping World is still active. And again, if you click on that, it'll load only posts there. Let's go to KHC. Here's a trade that's long since been stopped out. What you would have done is, you can see that this trade was added back on June 3rd. That was a while ago. And at the time, the parameters in the trade were all here. If you go in the first post, it will give you the trade parameters, price targets are all in there. If they're not in the original post, I'll follow up in the next post, but that's it. So we had an entry here, a first target, potential second target up here. Had the trade started to, continue to play out the way I wanted to see. And I did do some updates, and I would have, maybe I did make that I might have made that an official target. I think I did. But what I'm getting at is go through these if you're interested in a trade, and always go by the last update on a trade. If I have not posted an update, so again, you'd have to click through each of these. This was the last update made on that trade back on July 23rd. We had hit the first price target for a 12% profit. At that time, I raised the suggested stop to 27.08. So my point is, that would be, if I haven't made any other update, that doesn't change. If that stock, which it did, crossed below 28.07, it is a stopped out trade. It is no longer active, even though it's showing under here. Now, you may still like the chart. The chart, it ended up panning out well. That's where we entered. We went up. We hit our first target right there. I raised the stop to break even, so that assured if anyone was holding out for that target, well, again, you guys do what you want, but that would assure either a break even, or if you took partial profits there, you'd have half profits, say, and the other half stopped out there, and you would have made something. Let's look at that chart now and see what happened. Okay, so this was it. So we hit that level. We came very close to that T2. We hit a high right here on August 1st of 33.25 versus 33.59, and then we reversed from there. We went on to hit the stop, but you see what happened, and I haven't done an update, and I need to update and clean out a lot of these older trades. We extended the divergence. This one just fell off my radar. Had I seen it back at the time, I would have pointed out these developments and said, look, now we were a little early on this one, but it put in a divergent. We had a divergent low. We made if you took full profits, you were profitable on the trade, and if you raised your stop, at least it broke even, and it went on to put in another even larger divergent low. A lot like I'm talking about the stock market, just building, extending those divergences, and they're only larger, which led to an even larger rally. From there, the stock rallied 35%, and not by mere coincidence. You go back long enough, it would take you days to go through all the trades on this site, if not weeks, that I post over the years. You'd be amazed how many stocks hit the final target and then reverse. Now, I'll say this, it actually looks good here. In fact, it looks to me like it's bull flagging. The point of this video was not to get into any one trade. It's just to show you, go through the updates, and you would see, and go by the most recent updates on that trade. And of course, if you have any questions, just drop me a line. I may not, if you replied to this one, and the replies may be shut. That trade's so old, it might not even take replies anymore, or comments, I should say, below there. Try to bump me in the trading room, or email in the support form. and I'll give you an update. But there's KHC, and I just want to say how it went on to play out and finally hit that second target, although any reasonable stop would have been taken out first. And I don't consider that second target hit. It goes down when I update this trade and move it to the completed trade categories, which I plan to do soon. That will be the final target being hit, and that'll be the stop. I'll throw that out there. There's many ways to skin a cat, many ways to trade a stock. Again, that is all right here in the FAQ page. If you go to resources and then frequently asked questions right here, and then go to trading related questions, and here it is. Why do some trades list multiple price targets? So a lot of questions you have are in here, and again, that's why this is one reason why I list those multiple targets. Okay, long video because I want to kind of get to the, again, it's all related to finding what you're looking for. So how to find what you're looking for, just go back to let's go back to the home page. And I do a lot, and a lot of people like to trade natural gas. Why? Because fewer things out there, fewer securities, whether it's a commodity, a stock, an ETF, fewer securities can put so much money in your pocket in short order because natural gas is so volatile. And it also trades pretty well to the technicals. A couple ways to find analysis on what you're looking for. So if you come in, if you read this post today, and let's say you're new to the site, or you've been with the site for a while, but you want to just catch up on all recent posts, click these tags. These are ticker tags. And you can see this post I tagged with everything I mentioned. I mentioned UGAS. Now I didn't mention DGAS. We had just closed out DGAS earlier, which is the short, 3x short. And I posted this as a potential long, an unofficial long for the reasons in the post. Usually all my nat gas posts, whether it's UGAS or DGAS, they'll also include these tags, nat gas or NG. So if you click on NG, which are natural gas futures, it's going to load all posts in order of starting with the most recent that included analysis or trade ideas on natural gas. And you can see here page after page. So you can go through there and kind of catch up that way. That's one way to find what you're looking for on the site. The other way is click on the resources tab. That brings you into the right side of the chart support center. Down towards the bottom, this is where you can find what you're looking for. You have this is probably the best thing to use. And I can tell you, if you're a silver member, one of the best options right here, select symbol tag. And there's also a pretty extensive search function right here. I'll go through both. So right here, let's say I don't like to short anything. I only like to go long, and I only like to go long natural gas, and I only trade ETNs. So therefore, I like UGAS, UGAZ. What I'm going to do is click the box. I'm going to type UGAZ, and I'm going to do it rather fast. If you do it too slow, it kind of skips down to the U. So you can see I typed in UGAZ. There's the ticker. I click on that, and boom, it's loaded all posts in order, again, starting with the most recent, that update today, on UGAS. And you can go through there and read any analysis, see past trades, etc. on UGAS. Now, the other way is to use the search function right here. And if you type in, we'll do it again, it's not case sensitive, so I'll type in UGAS, and it's going to bring up all mentions of UGAS, starting with a lot of this will show you trading room activity. So if you're a gold member, you can access these, but it will also show anything in the comments section under the front page posts. Remember, home page or front page posts are accessible by both gold and silver members, so you can scroll down. If you just want to see my comments on UGAS, whether it was in the trading room or in the front page, you'll see my gravatar, or whatever they call the little picture thing, my username, RSOTC. You can click on that, it'll open that link, and you can go down here, and if there's another mention of it there. And if you scroll all the way down, then you get to where we have front page posts and comments right here. These are in the comments section under the front page post, and if you see a chart with it, that's a front page post as well. So a little more extensive search feature here, but again, if you are a silver member, you're going to see a lot of the entries or mentions here, things of it in the trading room, and if you click on that, you're not going to be able to access that post. You'll just get a message that you need to either upgrade to a gold level account or not to access that post, that is. Okay, and finally we'll wrap it up. I just want to make mention, this was under Friday's post, swing trade, or no, it was last week. This was last week after I posted the most recent DGAS trade, which we closed out today. That one was closed out for... this was today. If I click on it, pull the DGAS ticker, tag up, it'll load all posts. So you can DGAS right here. That one today we closed out for a 23% profit. The previous trade that we had, official trade on DGAS, we closed out just what was that? Just over a month ago, a little more than a month ago, for a 28% profit. And so my point is, on that one we had, let's see right here. Somebody asked, and a very valid question. I want to just read this out. Great analysis overall. One of the things I don't understand is, what are we doing trying to short UGAS here, going long via long DGAS, when it has absolutely no signs of weakness on any shorter term time frames? Why not wait until at least the 30-minute charts are rolling? Well, my reply was this. First of all, I explained my rationale behind that trade in the video, or I'm sorry, it wasn't a video, it was a front page post, why I was shorting it, and I said it was basically identical setup to the last short trade on it right here. We had a bearish rising wedge. I was only looking for a pullback trade, not a major trend reversal, and that one played out. That was for the 28% gain, I believe, on this trade, and that was my answer, that my rationale was there in the post, and B, a couple things there is that you need to consider that my trading style isn't the same as everyone else's. In fact, it's probably different than the majority of traders out there. I'm a very contrarian trader. I don't trade something, I don't go long something that everyone else is bearish on just for the sake of going long, but I like to catch tops and bottoms. I like to catch major turns. Very few people can do that. That's much more difficult. Most traders are trend traders. They like to look for continuation patterns or just buy pullbacks and get in a trend, and there are times I will do that, but as a lot of my trades show, I'll short things at the highs and then cover them at the lows. I don't always get it right every time, but that's a big part of my trading style, so you need to recognize that. And then at the end of the day, that is most certainly not for everybody, and I recognize that. So my point is, I share what I see. This is not, and let me repeat, this is not a follow me service. That is not what I started this site for, and that's not the intent of this site. I find it is impossible. I truly believe it is impossible to follow another trader. I've used an analogy like, get behind Tom Brady on the field during a game. If he says, yeah, I'm teach you everything I know, follow me step by step, stay one step behind me, do everything I do. If I turn to the right and look for my receiver running the post pattern out on the left side of the field, and then I turn, I'm going to throw to the guy on the right. It's all Brady's reacting in real time to what's going on the field, and there's a lot of different things out there, and it's very, very fast. Same thing with trading. So I believe it is, I have no doubt it's impossible to follow any trader, and I do, for every trade you see on the front page, I'm doing 10 others, if not more, across dozens of accounts. I have over a dozen personal and family accounts. I'm also active trading, day trading, and again, it's too much. So what I try to do is put out in advance or in real time trades that are actionable, trades that I like, price targets, stops that I think are reasonable with, assuming an entry at that point, but they are just suggestions. And again, pass on the ones you're not comfortable with. Paper trade those ideas till you get, if you're trying to find your way in trading and investing, find your niche, because everyone's going to have a different trading style. My trading style, parts of it may be for you, parts may not be, none of it may be, or you may have a very similar, almost identical trading style. So I wanted to share that, and again, pass along what I see, And if it doesn't mesh with your comfort level trading style or your outlook on that security, by all means pass on it. There's no reason to take that. And that's about it, guys. I just wanted to kind of go over again what I wanted to do mainly is show you how to find what you're looking for. There's the search icon as well. You can also find it in the trading room on the right hand side of the page. And remember, it's also here in the resources. Under resources, brings you into the sports center, and use this select symbol tag, or you'll find these symbols underneath each post. A $ in front of it is typically an index, such as the Dow, or for example the Euro US dollar forex pair, whereas if you have a /, those are futures contracts right here. Let me scroll down a little bit. There's your futures contracts, CLs, crude oil, things like that, and then you have your individual stocks right there, and they're all alphabetically, and of course you can use that search function as well. We'll wrap it up here, and what I will work on doing is breaking these videos down or put up some screenshots, and I want to work on this part right here using right side of the chart. I want to put a guided tour of the site or navigating the site, and I'll break this down again, so how you can find what you're looking for and most easily, and then also what it means, what trade ideas are actionable and which ones aren't, which I think I did a pretty good job of explaining in the video towards the beginning. All right, any questions on this or anything related to using the site, feel free to post it in the comments section below this front page post. This has been Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart. Hope you enjoyed it.